November 8th, 2010. Markham, Ontario, Canada. A quiet residential neighborhood outside Toronto. The kind of place where families feel safe. At 10:31 p.m., a frantic 911 call comes in.
Please just go ma'am, my parents are ma'am, calm down. What some people broke into our house and take us all his money?
The voice belongs to 24-year-old Jennifer Pan.
Someone broke in and I heard shots like pops. I don't know what's happening. I'm tied upstairs.
Police race to the upscale home on Helen Avenue. What they find will shatter this immigrant family's American dream. Bich Hapan, age 53, is gone. Her husband Hanpan, age 57, has been critically injured. He manages to crawl upstairs and stumble outside to a neighbor's house. Jennifer is found upstairs, claiming she was bound to a banister with a shoelace. She tells police 3 men broke in, demanded money, ransacked the house, then took her parents to the basement. York Regional Police Chief describes it as a random attack, money-driven, a home invasion gone wrong. But within days, investigators will begin to suspect something very different. This is the story of Jennifer Pan, the perfect daughter, Olympic-caliber figure skater, award-winning pianist, straight-A student. Except none of that was true. For years, Jennifer Pan lived a lie. And when that lie was about to be exposed, she made a choice that would destroy everything. Before we start, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support means more than you know. Han Pan and Bich Hapan were ethnic Chinese refugees from Vietnam. Boat people who escaped to Canada in 1979 seeking a better life. They were part of the Vietnamese diaspora, hundreds of thousands who fled Vietnam after the war. The journey was dangerous. Many didn't make it. But Han and Bich were among the lucky ones who reached Canada safely. They settled in Toronto with nothing, no money, no connections, no understanding of the language or culture, just determination and hope for a better future. The early years were incredibly difficult. They worked any jobs they could find, saved every penny, sent money back to families still in Vietnam when they could. Eventually, Han found work at Magna International, an auto parts manufacturer in Aurora, Ontario. He was a tool maker, skilled work that required precision and expertise. Bich worked at the same company making car parts on the assembly line. They worked hard, incredibly hard, often overtime, weekends, whatever it took. Because they weren't just working for themselves, they were building a foundation for their children. They lived frugally, no luxuries, no vacations. Every dollar saved went toward the future, toward buying a home, toward giving their children opportunities they'd never had. In 1986, they had their daughter Jennifer. 3 years later, their son Felix was born. For Han and Bich, these children represented everything. The reason they'd risked their lives fleeing Vietnam. The reason they worked themselves to exhaustion. The promise of a better future. By 2004, after more than 2 decades of sacrifice and hard work, Han and Bich had saved enough to purchase a beautiful home in Markham, a residential area with a large Asian population. The house had a 2-car garage, nice neighborhood, excellent schools, safe streets. Han drove a Mercedes-Benz. Bich drove a Lexus. They'd accumulated $200,000 in savings, a fortune for people who'd arrived with nothing. From the outside, the Pan family was living the dream. The immigrant success story, proof that hard work and sacrifice could build a better life. But inside that house, expectations weighed heavy. Because for Han and Bich, their children weren't just their pride and joy. They were the culmination of everything they'd sacrificed for. Han and Bitch were what's known as tiger parents, a strict Asian parenting style that emphasizes academic excellence and high achievement above all else. The term comes from the 2011 book Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, but describes a parenting philosophy that's been practiced for generations. For tiger parents, success isn't optional. It's expected, mandatory. Anything less than perfection is considered failure. Jennifer started piano lessons at age 4, not because she asked for them, but because Han and Bish decided she would learn piano. By elementary school, she'd won numerous awards and competitions. Trophies lined the shelves in the family home. But the praise was minimal. Winning wasn't celebrated. It was expected. Second place wasn't congratulated. It was questioned. Why weren't you first? They enrolled her in figure skating when she was 8 years old. She trained most days of the week, early mornings before school, evenings after homework, weekends. The goal wasn't to have fun. It was to become the best. Jennifer showed real talent. She competed at high levels. Her dream was to compete at the national level, with sights set on the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver. Until she tore a ligament in her knee at age 15, a serious injury. The doctors said her competitive skating career was over. The Olympic dream ended. But the pressure didn't. Han had clear plans for his children's futures, plans he'd decided long before they were old enough to have opinions of their own. Felix would study mechanical engineering at a prestigious university. Han wanted his son to design cars, not assemble them like he did, to move up in the world, to have the career Han never had the opportunity to pursue. Jennifer would become a doctor. When she expressed discomfort with that path, the sight of medical procedures made her queasy. Han settled for a pharmacist, still medical, still prestigious, still acceptable to brag about to relatives and friends. The rules in the Pan household were strict. Jennifer wasn't allowed to go to school dances, wasn't allowed to have friends who were boys, definitely wasn't allowed to date. Those were distractions from academics, time wasters, obstacles to success. Friends who visited the Pan home described the atmosphere as tense, controlled. Everything had its place. Everything followed a schedule. Jennifer studied late into the night, trying to meet expectations that seemed impossible to reach. Every test score was scrutinized, every grade analyzed, every mistake questioned. Friends described Han as controlling, demanding, critical, never satisfied with anything less than perfection. And even perfection was met with the expectation that next time she'd do even better. Bish was quieter, more supportive behind closed doors, but she deferred to Han's rules. He was the rule maker, the enforcer, the one who set the standards. For Jennifer, growing up in that house felt like living under constant surveillance. Every grade scrutinized, every activity monitored, every minute accounted for, every decision made for her. The pressure was immense, relentless, suffocating. And when the pressure became too much, when Jennifer realized she couldn't meet the impossible standards set for her, she did what felt like the only option. She started lying. It started small. In 9th grade, Jennifer's grades began slipping. She was excellent in music, but everything else hovered around the 70s range. Not good enough for Han. So Jennifer got creative. She used old report cards and a photocopier to forge new ones, changed the grades to straight A's, handed them to her parents with a smile. They never suspected a thing. The lies grew bigger. In high school, her grades and behavior got her transferred to a different school. Her parents knew about the transfer but believed it was Jennifer's choice, not disciplinary. They picked her up every single day, watched her like a hawk, made sure she wasn't getting distracted. Then, in 11th grade, Jennifer met Daniel Wong. He played trumpet in the school band where she played flute. In 2003, on a school trip to Europe, Jennifer had a severe asthma attack during a performance in a smoke-filled concert hall. Daniel calmed her down, helped her breathe. She felt like he saved her life. They started dating that summer, in secret, of course. When it came time for university, Jennifer received early admission to Ryerson University, a good school. Her parents were proud. But then, Jennifer failed calculus her senior year. Didn't graduate high school. Ryerson revoked her admission. Jennifer didn't tell her parents. Instead, she created a fake acceptance letter, showed it to them. They believed it. For 2 years, Jennifer pretended to attend Ryerson University. She purchased textbooks, made notes about science topics, watched documentaries so she could discuss class material with her parents. Where was she really? Teaching piano lessons, working at a restaurant, spending time with Daniel. She told her parents she was on scholarship, so they never saw tuition bills. After 2 years, Han asked about transferring to the University of Toronto for pharmacy school. Jennifer said yes, she'd been accepted. Another lie, another fake acceptance letter. This time, Jennifer suggested living closer to campus during the week. She told her parents she'd stay with a female friend named Topaz to avoid the long commute. Her parents agreed. Jennifer actually stayed with Daniel's parents, who had no idea her own parents didn't approve. For 2 more years, 4 years total, Jennifer maintained this elaborate charade. Her parents thought she was in pharmacy school at the University of Toronto. She even told them she'd started volunteering at a blood testing lab at Sick Kids Hospital. Late night shifts and weekends. Another excuse to spend time with Daniel. But Han grew suspicious. The volunteer position didn't come with a uniform or key card. One day in 2009, Han insisted on driving Jennifer to the hospital himself. When they arrived, Bish followed Jennifer inside. Jennifer panicked, hid in the emergency room for hours until her parents left. The next day, they called Topaz. "Is Jennifer there?" "No," Topaz said, confused about which day it was. The lies were unraveling. The truth comes out. When Jennifer came home, Han and Bitch confronted her. Eventually, she confessed. She didn't work at Sick Kids. She'd been living with Daniel, not Topaz. She wasn't attending the University of Toronto. But she kept one lie intact, that she'd graduated high school and attended Ryerson for 2 years. Her parents were furious. They felt betrayed, humiliated. How could their perfect daughter lie to them for so long? They brought down the hammer, took away her cell phone, took away her laptop, made her quit her restaurant job. She could only teach piano lessons, and they tracked the mileage on her car to make sure she wasn't going anywhere else. Jennifer posted on Facebook in February 2009, "Living in my house is like being on house arrest." She was 22 years old. Her parents treated her like a teenager. 9 o'clock curfew, no phone, no internet unless they were in the room. And the biggest rule? No contact with Daniel Wong. Han gave her an ultimatum. Either go back to school for real, get a degree, and follow the path he'd set for her life, or get out of his house. He also told her, "If you want to see Daniel, you have to wait until I'm gone." Jennifer tried to sneak out to see Daniel anyway. One night, she pulled the old pillow under the blankets trick and went to his house. The next morning, Bitch came into her room looking for her wallet, found the pillows, realized Jennifer was gone. They were even more furious. Meanwhile, Daniel was getting tired of the drama. The sneaking around, the excuses. He broke up with Jennifer, then started dating another girl named Christine. Jennifer was devastated. She'd sacrificed everything for Daniel, lied to her parents, lived this double life. And now he'd moved on. She spiraled into depression, started cutting herself, felt trapped with no way out. And then she started thinking, what if her parents weren't around to control her anymore? The plan in spring 2010, Jennifer reconnected with an old friend from elementary school named Andrew Montemayor. According to Jennifer's later testimony, Andrew mentioned he'd once considered taking drastic action against his own father. Andrew denies this. But something clicked in Jennifer's mind. If her parents were gone, she'd inherit their money, could be with Daniel, could live her own life. Andrew introduced Jennifer to his roommate, Ricardo Duncan. According to Jennifer, she gave Duncan $1,500 to carry out a plan at her father's workplace parking lot. Duncan took the money, but never followed through. Duncan claims he told her no, and the money was for something he'd loaned her earlier. Either way, nothing happened. By summer 2010, Jennifer and Daniel were talking again, back together. And together, they devised a new plan. Daniel gave Jennifer an iPhone with a new SIM card, a burner phone for planning purposes only. She kept her regular Samsung for everything else. Daniel connected Jennifer with an acquaintance named Lenford Crawford, nicknamed Homeboy. Crawford said he normally charged $20,000 for this type of work. But for a friend of Daniel's, $10,000. Friends and family discount. Jennifer would pay $10,000. When her parents were gone, she'd inherit approximately $500,000. She and Daniel could finally be together. The plan was set for November 8, 2010. Crawford recruited two others, David Milvaganam and Eric Carty. November 8, 2010. The evening started normally at the Pan House. Han was reading the Vietnamese newspaper. Went to bed around 8:30 p.m. Bitch was outlined dancing with friends. She came home around 9:30 p.m., changed into pajamas, went to watch TV in the living room. At 9:35 p.m., David Milvaganam called Jennifer. They spoke briefly. Jennifer walked downstairs, said goodnight to her mother, then went to the front door and unlocked it. At 10:02 p.m., the light switch in the study went on and off. Investigators believe this was a signal. At 10:05 p.m., Jennifer and David were on the phone again. Text messages showed Jennifer sent VIP access. Minutes later, 3 men entered through the unlocked front door. According to the investigation that would follow, Bish and Han were taken to the basement. Jennifer called 911. Shortly after 10:30 p.m., when police arrived, they found Bitch had passed away. Han was critically injured with wounds to his face and shoulder. He'd managed to crawl upstairs and get outside to a neighbor's house. Jennifer claimed she'd been tied to a banister upstairs. Police initially believed it was a robbery, random, money-driven. But almost immediately, red flags started appearing. The first interview happened that night. Detective Randy Slade spoke with Jennifer at Markham Police Station around 2:45 a.m. She told him 3 men broke in, demanded money. She gave them $2,500 she'd saved from piano lessons. Her mother had about $1,100 in U.S. currency hidden in a bedside table. They tied her up, took her parents downstairs. She described the men. One had dreadlocks. All were between 28 and 33 years old. One had a revolver, one had a pistol. But investigators noticed something strange. Jennifer said they tied her hands behind her back and tied her arm to the banister. Yet she managed to call 911 on her flip phone. 2 days later, they brought her back in, asked her to demonstrate exactly how she made that call. She showed them. put the phone in her waistband, twisted around, dialed with her hands behind her back, volume on max so she could hear. It seemed possible, but difficult. Other things didn't add up either. The keys to their Lexus were sitting in plain view. Why didn't the robbers take the car? No electronics were stolen, no jewelry. Money was still found in the house. Why would robbers harm two people but leave one witness alive? Especially a witness who could identify them. And why ransack only the master bedroom? The rest of the house looked untouched. Police assigned a surveillance detail to follow Jennifer, even to her mother's funeral on November 15th, 2010. At the funeral, Jennifer showed no emotion, no tears. Investigators found that strange. Meanwhile, an anonymous tip came in. Daniel Wong was connected to drug dealing. That opened new possibilities. Was this drug-related? Had Jennifer been involved? They brought Daniel in for questioning. That's when they learned about the secret relationship, the forbidden boyfriend, the years of lies, the breakup, the ultimatum from Jennifer's father. Then came the breakthrough. 3 days after the incident, on November 12th, 2010, Han Pan woke up from his induced coma. He'd been wounded in the face, had a broken bone near his eye. Bullet fragments remained embedded in his face. A shattered neck bone. Doctors were amazed he survived. And he remembered everything. When detectives spoke with Han, his account was drastically different from Jennifer's. He said there were 3 men, 2 black, 1 white, all over 6 feet tall, all wearing black turtlenecks. Jennifer had described all 3 as black, one shorter than her, at least one wearing a hoodie. But the most damning detail, Han said Jennifer wasn't tied up at all. He saw her walking around freely, talking to one of the men in a friendly, relaxed manner, whispering to him like they knew each other. Her hands weren't bound. She wasn't tied to any banister. Jennifer Pan became the prime suspect. On November 22nd, 2010, Jennifer was brought in for a 3rd interview. This time, Detective Bill Getz conducted the interrogation. 9 hours, using a technique called the Reed method, where the investigator assumes guilt and pressures for confession. Getz told Jennifer he was an expert in truth verification, that they had computer programs analyzing her statements for deception. He told her they had satellite imagery showing movement inside the house that night, heat signatures, like an X-ray showing where everyone was positioned. None of this was true, but police are allowed to lie during interrogations in Canada. What was true? The phone records, the text messages, and her father's testimony.
One of the things you have to remember is that your dad was there, okay? And your dad had a front row seat to all of this, okay? And your dad's a very smart man, okay? And he has a very clear perception of what's going on. And he tells a very truthful story, because I've gone through this whole process with him. Okay, I've had to do the same thing. And I know he's being truthful. Okay? The problem is that your story, what you're telling, is not truthful.
For hours, Jennifer maintained her story. Then she shifted. She admitted she'd hired the men, but not to harm her parents, to harm herself. She claimed she wanted to end her own life but couldn't do it herself. So she hired someone to do it for her, someone else carrying out what she couldn't. But they got confused and went after her parents instead. Getz wasn't buying it. "You told these guys to come and take care of your parents," he said. Jennifer eventually admitted. She'd unlocked the front door. She'd sent the VIP access text. She'd given the signal with the light switch, but she claimed she'd tried to call it off. that the men showed up anyway because she still owed them money. Her story kept changing. None of it made sense. At the end of that 9-hour interrogation, Jennifer Pan was arrested, charged with first-degree homicide, attempted homicide, and conspiracy. As investigators dug deeper, the evidence became overwhelming. They found Jennifer's burner iPhone, the one Daniel had given her. She'd removed the SIM card, hoping to destroy the evidence. But they recovered hundreds of text messages anyway. November 2nd, 2010, 6 days before the incident. Jennifer texted Daniel, "I do, but I have nowhere to go." Daniel, "You said you wanted this for you." Jennifer, "I want this for me." Clearly not planning self-harm. Planning something else entirely. More messages showed planning, coordination, timing. November 8th, 2010, the day it happened. "I need time of completion. Think about it. Game time, November 8th. Then at 10:05 p.m., VIP access." Police matched the timestamp of that text to the exact moment captured on a neighbor's security camera, showing the study lights switching on and off. The signal. They also uncovered Jennifer's motive through her relationship with Daniel. Text messages between them showed desperation. She felt trapped. Her parents stood between her and the life she wanted. And she calculated she'd inherit about $500,000 when they were gone. The trial began March 19th, 2014, in Newmarket, Ontario. It was expected to last 6 months. It stretched nearly 10. More than 50 witnesses testified. Over 200 exhibits filed. Jennifer was on the stand for 7 days. She tried to explain away the text messages, tried to convince the jury she'd wanted the hitmen to target herself, not her parents. But the evidence was overwhelming. The text messages showed planning and coordination. Phone records showed constant communication between Jennifer, Daniel, and the hitmen on November 8th. Han's testimony placed Jennifer walking freely with the intruders, talking to them like friends. The timeline made her story impossible. She claimed she tried to cancel, but the texts showed otherwise. Her defense team argued she'd suffered years of psychological abuse from strict tiger parenting, that she'd snapped under the pressure. But the prosecution had a simpler explanation. She wanted her parents gone so she could inherit their money and be with Daniel. On December 13th, 2014, the jury returned their verdict. Guilty on all charges: Jennifer Pan, Daniel Wong, Lenford Crawford, David Milvaganam. All received the same sentence: life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Eric Carty's trial ended in a mistrial when his lawyer got sick. He later pleaded guilty to conspiracy and received 18 years. Han Pan requested a court-ordered no-contact provision. The judge granted it. Jennifer is forbidden from ever contacting her father or her brother Felix. Ever. At sentencing, Han addressed his daughter. "I hope Jennifer thinks about what happened to her family and can become a good, honest person someday." Felix moved to the East Coast to start a new life away from the tragedy. Han survived but is a shadow of his former self. Unable to work due to his injuries, suffers from depression, nightmares, severe anxiety, insomnia. The trauma of that night and the betrayal by his own daughter left him unable to function normally. In 2016, crime reporter Jeremy Grimaldi published a comprehensive book about the case examining Jennifer's life and the tragedy. The case became the subject of numerous documentaries, podcasts, and true crime coverage. In 2024, Netflix released What Jennifer Did, bringing renewed attention to the case. Where is she now? As of 2025, Jennifer Pan is incarcerated at Grand Valley Institution for Women in Kitchener, Ontario. She was 24 years old when convicted in 2014. She's now 38 years old. She won't be eligible for parole until 2039, when she'll be 49 years old. But there's a twist to this story. In May 2023, the Ontario Court of Appeal ordered a new trial for Jennifer and her co-conspirators on the first-degree homicide charge. The court found the trial judge had failed to properly instruct the jury. He'd told them to consider only two scenarios. Either Jennifer planned to eliminate both parents, or it was a robbery gone wrong. The defense had argued for a third scenario. Jennifer planned to eliminate only her father, and her mother was harmed in the process. The trial judge rejected this, saying it had no air of reality. The appeal court disagreed, said the jury should have been allowed to consider second-degree homicide or a lesser charge. In April 2025, Canada's Supreme Court affirmed this decision. Jennifer Pan and her co-conspirators will get a new trial for the first-degree homicide charge. But the attempted homicide conviction for what happened to Han stands. Whether prosecutors will retry the case remains to be seen. Eric Carty, who'd pleaded guilty to conspiracy and received 18 years, passed away in his cell in 2018 at age 35. Cause of passing not publicly released. The case that shocked Canada continues to wind through the legal system 15 years later. Remembering the victim lost in all the legal proceedings, the documentaries, the true crime coverage, is the woman at the center of this tragedy. Beach Hapan was 53 years old. A refugee who'd escaped Vietnam with nothing, built a life in Canada through hard work and sacrifice. She worked at an auto parts factory, saved every penny, lived frugally so her children could have opportunities. She drove a Lexus, lived in a beautiful home, had achieved the immigrant dream. She loved line dancing, went every Monday with friends. It was her escape, her joy. Her final words, according to witnesses, were begging the intruders to spare her daughter's life. She never knew her daughter had orchestrated it all. Bish was buried on November 19, 2010. Han couldn't attend due to his injuries. Friends and family remember her as kind, hardworking, devoted to her children. She wanted the best for Jennifer, pushed her to succeed, maybe pushed too hard. But she never deserved what happened. The case raises uncomfortable questions about parenting, pressure, expectations, mental health in immigrant families. About what happens when children feel trapped under impossible standards. About the line between strict parenting and psychological harm. But nothing, no amount of pressure, no level of control, justifies what Jennifer did. Other children of tiger parents face the same pressures. They don't hire hitmen. Some lie to their parents. Some run away. Some cut contact when they're adults. But they don't plan elaborate schemes over months to eliminate the people who raised them. Jennifer Pan made a choice. A calculated, cold choice. She chose deception over honesty. She chose violence over leaving. She chose money and freedom over the lives of her own parents. And that night, in November 2010, Bich Hapan paid the ultimate price for her daughter's lies. For years, Jennifer Pan lived a perfect lie. Perfect daughter, perfect student, perfect life. But the foundation was built on deception. Forged report cards, fake diplomas, phantom university careers. When the lies started crumbling, when her parents discovered the truth, Jennifer faced a choice. Come clean, face the consequences, start over, build a real life, or eliminate the problem. She chose the latter, spent months planning, coordinating with Daniel, connecting with hitmen, setting the price at $10,000. November 8th, 2010. She unlocked the front door, sent the signal, gave VIP access to men who would take her mother's life and leave her father permanently damaged. Then she called 911 and played the victim. But her father survived, and his testimony unraveled everything. The phone records showed the planning. The text messages showed the coordination. The timeline showed the lies. Jennifer Pan's web of deception finally collapsed under the weight of evidence. Today she sits in prison, the perfect lie destroyed. The perfect daughter revealed as something far darker. Beach Hapan is gone. Han Pan will never fully recover. Felix lost his mother and his sister on the same night. All because Jennifer couldn't face the truth. She'd failed, not at being perfect, at being honest. Rest in peace, Beach Hapan. You deserved better than the daughter you raised. You deserve the truth. And Jennifer? She'll have 25 years, maybe more, to think about that.